If you do this for money, you're going to be stressed. You're going to be aggravated. You're going to have contentious relationships with everybody because everybody done. Everybody up. Everybody doing something wrong. So ultimately, how you feel about it and how you experience all this lies with you. Could, if you assume malicious intent. Does it if you are compassionate and just accept that people are human, they make mistakes. It's all your job and it's all your fault because you're supposed to be keeping up with the dates. In January, I should have knew that he was expiring in March and started reaching out then. Hey, can you make sure you send this? Hey, we need this. Hey, I need this by this date. Changing the way everybody involved approaches this, and it's because for me, I don't know any better, right? Like, I'm not of this world. I don't know. I haven't been indoctrinated. I don't know the rules to follow, so I can just break them all, and I'm gonna keep doing it. I don't want to learn their rules because the system doesn't work as well as they think it does or as it should. Doing things slightly differently or doing what organically comes to you, I think, has been our point of difference. Like, people get placed in homes without ever seeing them first. Well, the first thing you're going to know about us is what our home looks like. It's on the landing page of the website with a video walkthrough. Or people get their funding determined without anyone ever actually seeing them. Well, we're going to include client photos in those packages now. So anything I can do, like wherever I notice a gap, where it's like, how could you possibly get the full picture without this piece that's missing? We're going to put the piece in there.
And I think your being outside of the industry allows you to see what some of those missing pieces are, right?
Yeah.
Because if you just work in the medical industry, you're used to the SOPs that exist.
Yeah. And that's the norm. Like, we see that in the house with the nurses. They have their nursing processes. The doctor makes the decisions. I just assist and do the nurse shit, and I do what I'm told. Where in our home, it's like, well, no, you are the lead of the care. The doctor works for you. You know this patient, so you tell the doctor what you want, and y'all collaborate on that. So just changing the way everybody involved approaches this, and it's because for me, I don't know any better, right? Like, I'm not of this world. I don't know. I haven't been indoctrinated. I don't know the rules to follow, so I can just break them all, and I'm gonna keep doing it. I don't want to learn their rules because the system doesn't work as well as they think it does or as it should. So I don't want to follow any of the norms or learn any of the rules. I'm going to look at the situation that is, and I'm going to problem solve for that based on the skills and experience that I've accumulated across different industries, and I'm going to approach it that way, because if I just did it the way everybody else was doing it, there is no improvement. It's not getting any better. So yes, my nurses think critically. They don't just listen to what the doctor say. If the doctor calls and says I'm changing the prescription, they are trained to ask why. Provide me the justification for that change. Reiterate the knowledge that you have of that patient and why you think it should be a different way. And I promise you they're going to listen to you, because they do not know. They do not know that patient the way you do. So it's just that across the board. Like, I want my staff to think critically. I want my staff to question and push back. If somebody goes into the hospital, the staff is going with them. The standard is that we send the patient to the hospital, and then we just sit there and wait for them to return, and they're the hospital's responsibility, but the hospital don't know that patient. So if a patient from the home goes into the hospital, his nurse is going with him and going to sit there and ask questions and verify and make sure that there is continuity of care, because I don't want to send him in the hospital, fuck him up, and then he comes home and we have to like solve for all of these issues that have been created, which is what we've just experienced over the last 3 months. So I run the business as a business, and based on the issues and the problems are there, not as it should be run. Like, I'm not with the should, would. I'm going to do what is right based on those specific circumstances at that time.
Cool. How much time do you have?
Well, first of all, let me read this text message that somebody off my call first. Oh, wait. Okay. Good morning. I heard you speak on the WSC meeting this morning. Thank you for the info. Can you know me your brochure? Can you send me your brochure? That's what I believe you mean. To my email. I'm the QO owner. I am going to guess that means she owns a company that has WSCs. Do you take clients with some behaviors but with medical complexity? We'd consider it. And how much more time do you need? Because I would like to move on this. I'm gonna talk in email because we don't waste time. We're gonna let her get this flyer that she needs right now. Okay?
Can we give us an update on the SANS request for getting ResHab for patient number 1?
Oh yeah, we submitted it.
How long did it take?
Stuff, right? So when she first told us it was submitted, she was like, "Oh, you're gonna need to send 3 months of nursing notes and all of the stuff." So we postponed to take time to gather all the notes to send to her. Finally, we get it together. And we give it to her, like, and then she goes, "Oh, I'm not going to submit it with nursing notes." If that was the case, in the first 3 months of him being there, we would have submitted this thing. But anyways, whatever. That's been submitted. I don't know how long it takes. It could take 30 to 60 days, 90 days, I don't know, to review it. But it is finally submitted. So he's a freeloader. He done lived there for a whole year. Ain't just getting free services. But
We're not nearly.
yeah, hopefully that will get resolved.
And by she, you mean the WSC. It was the same WSC who just ranted and raved about you on the call. And the reason I want to highlight that is we have been at loggerheads over several issues throughout this journey. And for you to maintain a positive relationship in the face of adversity and conflict, it goes to show the value and how you treat people, even when they may not do right by you.
That part. So, one, neither of us knew what we didn't know, right? Like, I didn't know that there should have been 2 service authorizations that came with him, one for nursing and one for ResHab, and she didn't know that either because the home that he came from only had nursing. They didn't have ResHab, and that had been her primary client for pretty much the entirety of her career. So that's the only way she ever saw 24 nursing, standalone, without ResHab. So when I would ask about it, she would say no because based on her knowledge, those 2 things didn't go together. So it took a couple months of me networking with different group home owners, getting copies of their service authorizations, and then also talking with the clinical team at APD to find out what the client should have actually had. And once I had all that information, I was able to send to her and say, "Hey, look, that's not correct. He is supposed to have both ResHab and his 24-hour nursing. Here are copies of other people's service authorizations where you see those 2 things go together." I also had the clinical team at APD email her directly verifying that. So it took a couple months for us to just confirm what was true. And then once she had that, she was like, "Okay, I'll absolutely submit this for you. I'm so sorry." But she was operating from what she knew. Now, it would be nice if, rather than operating from what she knew, she had done the legwork to verify and find out. But, shit happens. But even throughout that, knowing that I'm losing $5,000 a month, right, that should be getting paid because of the person that's, to still have the relationship. One, there's just basic professionalism. And then there's also compassion, right? I'm new. I don't know. And accepting and understanding that everybody is operating from their point of reference, from their life experience, from their knowledge. I in no way think that she maliciously was like, oh, we not finna let these people get all the money they're supposed to get. No. She didn't know, just like I didn't know. And when we found out, we moved forward with getting that done. So I think there's no way to corrode the relationship. The relationship only corrodes if I were to make assumptions and feel some kind of way or feel like something was being personally done to me when it wasn't.
So to that point about there being nothing that could be corrosive about the relationship, right? I think the pressure that a business owner places on their own shoulders from having the responsibility of a staff to manage and, their livelihoods, from having the responsibility of patient care and their livelihoods, from having the responsibility of the business and its livelihood and the investments that have been made. When you talk about losing out on $5,000 a month, that's a significant, gap to fill that could really help to facilitate a business owner's ability to, keep the ship afloat. And so I can easily see how a conversation with this individual, how a relationship with this individual could deteriorate.
Could, if you assume malicious intent. Does it if you are compassionate and just accept that people are human, they make mistakes, and she knew what she knew.
Fair, but also if you just allow the stressors that I just mentioned to overwhelm you and you don't have the right business structure in place, you don't have the right source of funds in place, because some people are not business professionals to the level that you are, and they may not have those auxiliary support systems to help float them through a time period of 6 to 12 months when they're not receiving the correct revenue they're supposed to.
Yeah. Sure. So having come into this with a significant amount of savings to be able to operate for a year and not have the pressure of having to do things for money is an advantage. And I think if you do this for money, you're going to be stressed. You're going to be aggravated. You're going to have contentious relationships with everybody because everybody dumb. Everybody fucking up. Everybody doing something wrong. So ultimately, how you feel about it and how you experience all this lies with you and where you are, because that's all that you can control. So manage you, and if you are focused on managing you, you're not concerned with what everybody else is doing, how they being, any of that, because that ain't got nothing to do with you. It may impact you, but ultimately you have to manage you and your response to that impact. And that's all I focus on. I'm going to manage me. I'm worried about what I'm doing. I'm not concerned about what somebody else is doing. So that doesn't bear any emotional weight for me.
Okay. Can you talk about the corrective action that we just received?
No.
Why not?
I don't want to talk about that.
We talking about that. Fix your face.
I just don't feel like we need to talk about it.
We need to talk about it because that goes.
Why? What is it that you want to say?
Go through it.
Listen.
Run it down.
You be trying to have me drag people's name in the street. I'm not finna do that.
You can say no. They don't have to name no name.
But if they seen it, they know who they is.
I want to talk about the situation and how we can potentially assist other operators in avoiding that pitfall.
Fine. Okay. So there are a number of documents that you have to maintain on your clients, your staff, and your staff you control, correct? Because they're your staff. But when it comes to clients, some of those documents that you have to maintain, the support plan specifically, 3 other parties are involved. Their guardian or parent, the waiver support coordinator, and you. And everybody has to sign this document. Your waiver support coordinator manages that whole thing, creates the plan, gets the signatures, and then sends you a copy. If you don't have an updated version before your current one expires, and you happen to have your monthly monitoring visit and they discover that the one that you have in your book is expired, you are going to receive a ding for that, and if you can't produce it in the 12 hours that they give you, then you get what is called a corrective action, which we just received one for having an expired support plan. Well, in October of last year, 5 months before the plan was due to expire, we had this meeting. It was created. We all signed off. But I never got a copy of it because that was the waiver support coordinator's job. And I was just like, okay, well, out of sight, out of mind. It's her job. When it's done, she'll get it to me. I forget all about it. So we're 2 months past, and it's expired. I receive it 2 months later, and then I don't receive the signed copy until I reach out and say, hey, I just got a corrective action for not having this. Can you send me the signed copy? But I can't say to APD, oh, I shouldn't get this corrective action because it's not my fault. She didn't send me what she was supposed to send me. No, it's all your job, and it's all your fault because you're supposed to be keeping up with the dates. In January, I should have knew that he was expiring in March and started reaching out then. Hey, can you make sure you send this? Hey, we need this. Hey, I need this by this date, because ultimately it is your responsibility. It doesn't matter what other person has to play a role or do a part. The end result is on you. So I can't say she didn't send it to me, because their response is, well, how many times did you ask her for it? How far out in advance were you asking for it? Like, what did you do to try to avoid it expiring? So that's where we found ourselves. But, you know, it happened once, it'll never happen again.
Are there any standard practices moving forward you can implement?
Yes, of course. Anything that's expiring within 3 months, then you start chasing it then.
How do you chase it?
You email your waiver support coordinator.
Why do you email?
For trail, right? Because if they come and try to give me a corrective action for not having stuff, I can pull up those emails and say, nope, here are my emails and here are the dates that show me attempting to get it. So I am doing everything that's within my control, and then at that point, you not having it is not on you. Then you don't get a corrective action. Then the corrective action will go to that waiver support coordinator instead of you. So I do a lot of calling, because I like to just pick up the phone and call, but I have to make myself just email stuff, even if it's simple 3 words, because you have to build an email trail to protect yourself. Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Moving forward, what's on the agenda?
What agenda?
The agenda of developing and growing and stabilizing and supporting the business.
You know, if we get this third patient in, it puts us in a financially advantageous position to close some of the gaps we may have, like adding a generator into the home. The lights went out today. They was only out for 30 minutes, but they went out. That can't happen if you have a client in the home on a trach or vent, right? So we are limited to the clientele that we can serve because we don't have a generator. But we also have to grow as the business grows and not be throwing all this money up front and then, you know, kind of drowning in debt. So once we get the third patient, we'll be able to shore up some things financially and then make enhancements to the home that are needed so we can expand our reach for the types of clients we can serve. And then once that happens, we'll focus more on marketing to fill up the rest of the beds in the house, and also begin the licensing process for the second home, while also getting licensed for a home health agency.
Speaking of that, can you talk about some of the things you learned in your recent call with the consultant?
No. Can we do that separately? I'm running out of steam. Get your important stuff.
Sam's request for patient number 2 nursing hours? Is that on the table?
Not yet. So when patient number 1's request comes back to get his res hab set, we'll work on building the justification for the second patient to get his nursing hours increased from 10 back to 24 hours where he used to be. but I want to go through the process one time first, so I understand what they're looking for and how things should be submitted, so that when I submit that one, I don't have any issues.
Okay. Can you say something from the heart to the audience?
No. I don't know what. Why would you ask me to be who I'm not? Why would you ask that?
Thank you.
I feel like I'm having a heart attack. What's happening?
You got your will and trust done?
Nope. So leave me alone. You're stressing me.